So far we've covered a lot of different material setups. We had some basic materials here with these two cubes, where we had some basic material colors and some shininess or roughness properties. We had one where we changed the translucent, changed it to a translucent material. We had one that we applied just a picture. We had another one here where we used PBR materials, physics-based rendered textures, to add some more realism to it. And then we added a script to this one to actually cause a little bit of flickering. And then we had our discussion about the world-aligned materials to address the issue of different scales, different devices, and having something like the bricks or a ground pattern flow across all of the material that you select properly. Let's add a little efficiency to our material design and creation process with something called master materials. So let's create a master color material, a master PBR material, and a master world aligned material. So it starts by just creating a basic material the way we would normally. So we're going to create a material here, and I'm going to call it m_master, and I'm going to say color. So we have this master color material here, and it's empty right now. So you'll see me glancing off to the side. I'm actually keeping track of the recording while I'm doing this. So. Okay, with our basic material editor window open, we're going to start creating a new material. So I'm going to 3 to add a constant vector node, and we probably want to connect this to the base color. And let's say we're going to use 1 here to create a single vector node connected to the metallic value, another 1, and we'll connect it to roughness, and we saw where we could drive the emissive pin here and it would emit light. Doesn't make sense when it's black, but if I was to give it a bit of color, it would emit light. But I can't control how much it emits, so I'm going to break this for a second, or whether it emits it or not. And what we're going to do here is create a master material with parameters on it that we can adjust, and then when we want a new base color, we just create a new instance of this and pick the color from a slider instead of doing all of this node programming each time. So we're going to try and add some efficiencies. So this is our base material setup so far. So I'm going to drag out from here, put a multiply node in. And we're going to use the multiplication of the color. Using it multiplied by 1 is going to give you brighter, or if it's 0, it's not going to do anything, and it's not going to drive this emissive pin. So in order for this to work, we need to have these as parameters or configurable options, and we're going to create a material instance of this master material. So we can start with doing this particular option, which is connected to metallic. So I'm going to right click on it and say convert to parameter, and you can see it's added up here, param as the name, and I'm just going to call it metallic. I'm going to right click on this one, attach to roughness, and say convert to roughness. This one, we're actually going to right click on the B and say promote to parameter, so it's going to create this node. We can highlight it here, or with it set up as a parameter, we can also edit it in the details panel here. We can say brightness. So with the metallic pin, you remember this ranges from 0 to 1, so we can actually go and set this default value of, say we want 0.5. Slider can range from 0 up to 1, and you'll see where the slider discussion comes in in a minute. Roughness, default value, let's say 0.5, and 0 to 1 as well. And the brightness value, let's give it a brightness of 0, which means it's not going to turn on the emissive qualities, and it can range from maybe 0 to 3 on the slider. So these are our parameters that we're going to use, and I'm not going to flag anything yet with a comment, so let's save this. And in our material instance window, or materials folder, I'm going to right click. I'm going to say create material instance. So it creates a configurable instance of this using the parameters that we set. So let's create a red material. So this is it gives us a funny name like m underscore master color underscore inst. So I'm just going to say m underscore red. So this m underscore red isn't very red, it's actually black right now. But if I open it, this material editor looks a little different. It's no longer the full-on material editor. We have the preview window, and here we have some parameter groups, and if we open the parameter groups, we can see we can change some of these values. In this case, we could turn on the brightness and turn it up or down. We could turn on how metallic it is and say turn it down or up. So let's turn it up and turn the roughness down. And it doesn't make a lot of sense because our brightness is set to 0. So let's go fix that, because one of the things that we didn't convert to a parameter was our base color. So if I take the node here, the constant 3 vector, convert it to a parameter, I can now call that base color. And in here we have base color. If I'm going to save, you can see our red instance here now has another option for the base color. If I turn that on, I get a color picker, and I can set this red, and I can adjust, like, do I want the brightness on? Turn it off. How metallic do I want this? And how rough do I want it? Just by using the sliders. So now all of my materials are going to have these properties if I use these as an instance. So this is my m underscore red material based on our color, or based on our master color material. So this sets up base master color material. Now we may want more options in here. We could have options for the other characteristics in here, but just as a quick example, we have the ability to change the metallic, roughness, and brightness, and the base color. Now each of these parameters, you'll notice when we open our material, our red material here, they're listed in the order they were sort of created in, and we can actually change that around a little bit. So let's go into our group and select, say we want the base color to always appear as the first option in the top. Under material expression group, we're going to set this to, say, main window or something like that. And let's give it a priority of 2. It'll be lowest number is the highest in the list. So I'm going to save it. And just so we can see the sequence, if I come over here and say for this parameter that it's also in the main group, but I set its priority to 10, it should appear in the next slot down. So I've saved these on the master material, and if I look in the red material now, I have this main group, and I have the base color and the metallic listed in that sequence. So coming back here, I could, so this one was main and 10, so if I said this one was roughness, is also in the main group, and is going to be, say, 12. And the reason I've given it a little space between is that if I wanted to insert something for the specular, I could use 11 for the specular in the future without restructuring everything. So main, and this one could be 14. Applying and or saving this should update my red material, and now in the red material I have this main group, and I have clickable options that I can turn on and adjust each of the items and choose whether or not I want to use those in my new material. So this was to create this red material, and this is actually looking a little pink. So if we come in here and dial out a whole bunch of the green and a bunch of the blue and leave it as a red, now that looks like red. I can save this. And if I wanted to mix a similar color, So this is our master color material. It's saved. I'm just going to close it. This was our red material based on that master. If I wanted to create a yellow color, I could go back to my master color material. So M_master color. Right click and say material instance, and this time I could say M_yellow. Again, this isn't looking very yellow yet, so I open the yellow color. I'm going to choose to change the base color. I'm going to dial in a nice yellow. And maybe we will make it really rough. And add a little bit of brightness to it. So now instead of remixing and adding all the nodes that I did, I simply make an instance of the color base that I had from the M_master color, and then I can configure these parameters, and that helps ensure that all of my materials are similarly built, but it also makes it much more efficient for me to add more materials. So that's a master material for color. We can do the same thing for PBRs and for world aligned materials. So let's see those in the next video.